example of where you'd see the elephant with a stiff tail held away from its body. If they see a predator, elephants do chase lions. Often they will chase lions, and they'll chase them for quite a long time. And even a lion, as big and strong as a lion is, even a lion is scared of elephants. Lions can hunt elephants, but it's very unusual because it's really dangerous. An elephant is a massive animal, and lions have to work together as a team in order to hunt them, and they don't really do that unless they absolutely have to. Most of the time, an elephant will chase away a lion, a leopard, a cheetah. They especially don't like an animal called wild dogs. They get very cross when they see wild dogs. And you might find that a female like this, because she's all on her own, she might be more likely to chase predators because she's not as comfortable. Now, Jaden, you want to know, how do elephants protect their skin? That is a very good question, Jaden, because it gets very hot out here. And one of the ways that elephants, they don't really need to protect their skin too much because their skin is very thick and it is dark in color, so it doesn't get sunburnt or anything like that. But one of the ways that they can cool down and one of the ways that they can protect their skin is by going and having a mud bath. And they love it. Elephants love water and they love mud, and they'll use their trunks to pick up big pieces of mud and then they throw it over their backs. And sometimes they even lie down in the mud and rub themselves around in it so that it covers them from the very top of their head right down to their feet. And then they wait for the mud to dry, and then they go and they scratch up against a tree, and it's like an elephant spa treatment. So we're going to leave our lovely elephant and we're going to go and see what else we can find you. But remember, I told you all about the fact that there are different types of antelope that you can see. Well, Noelle has found one that you haven't seen yet. Let us go and find out which antelope she's got.
We have found for you an antelope species called a Nyala. This is the male. He's a beautiful chocolate brown. He's got lots of mud on his horns there from rubbing them in the mud. And then the white crest and white stripes, and then tawny socks. All of this coloration is meant to help blend into the environment. But the females look very different. You can see the females on the right-hand side. They're tawny all over and much, much, much smaller than that male, with white stripes on the side, also to help camouflage and break up the body shape. They are browsers, meaning they eat leaves, and every now and then they'll also eat grass, but mostly leaves. They look very similar to the deer species that you'll find in North America and Europe and parts of Asia. Wyatt, very good question. You would like to know if antelope and gazelles are the same. Wyatt, gazelles are a type of antelope, so yes. So Nyala, gazelle species like Thompson's and Grant's gazelle, as well as impala, kudu, eland, all of those, topi, all of those are all antelope species. I especially like male Nyala. To me, they're very regal. Kim, very good question. There is a deer species in the western part of the United States that they've called an antelope, but it's actually a deer. So antelope have horns that grow once in a lifetime. Deer have antlers that regrow every season. The closest thing you would have in the States to an antelope would be your American bison. Bison have horns that grow once in a lifetime. It would be a type of antelope. That's beautiful there. Nyala also have a very big ears so that they can hear well inside of the thick bush that they prefer. Wyatt, good question. You'd like to know if antelopes live in herds or alone. Well, Wyatt, it depends on the species. So larger species like Nyala, Impala, gazelle, eland, kudu, even wildebeest, they live in herd structures. But the smaller species like steenbok and duiker, klipspringer, dik-dik, they're teeny tiny and they live in pairs. So it depends on the size of the species. So when you're tiny like a dik-dik, it's easier to hide. When you're larger like Nyala, it's better to have more Nyala around you. Guys, you have the best questions today. Keep them coming. Logan, good question. Why do the antelope ears flap? They flap because the flies are bothering them a little bit. So that's why they're moving around like that. And then sometimes they're moving, like this female here, so that she can hear in different directions because it's a little bit windy. You can see she's smelling as well with her nose there. So antelope species don't trust their eyesight as much as they trust their hearing and sense of smell. Juan, very good question. You'd like to know what do book or an oryx that can go its whole life without drinking water. It can just get the moisture it needs from the plants at certain times of night. It lives in the deserts, the Namib desert areas like that, very dry areas, the Kalahari, which are to the west and north of where we are now. I'm going to see if I can find it for you in my book. So I've just got my foot on the brake so that Jean-André and I don't go downhill from here. And then when they're babies, they drink milk. Alexis, amazing question, sweetie. They do, in fact, some of them eat fruit. Impala will eat some fruits. Bushbuck, which is a cousin of the Nyala, but much smaller, will also eat fruits as well. They will from time to time. Warthogs have hooves, but they're not antelope. But just as a side note, they also eat fruit. Now, this is a gemsbok, just here. You will sometimes find them in and around the area where I'm sitting right now, but it's not very often. They're usually in more dry, arid areas. We're dry here, but not as arid as this. And a gemsbok's about twice the size of that male impala that we saw. Very nice. Great questions, everybody. Okay, we're going to carry on from our antelope and move down and around and see about these cheeky, sneaky leopards. I can hear squirrels' alarm calling behind me, but I have a feeling it's because of a bird of prey. I'm just going to turn and get us moving again. Leopards like these areas where it's very thick and they can hide themselves, but they also like open areas from time to time as well. We're just basically waiting for that female leopard Tundi to decide if she's going to go back to where we think she's put her little cub. Just giving her a little bit of space and looking for Hasana, as we spoke about earlier, a little male leopard that likes this area. And then go and have a look to see if we can find Tundi again. Alright, now Brent is still up in Kenya and he's driving around, so I think let's head on up to him and see what he wants to share with all of you.
Well, guys, I've been trying to find you lions, but they just seem to be hiding at the moment. So who knows, maybe we'll get lucky in the last couple of minutes of your drive. Maybe a lion will appear. Now, there's a big pride of lions that live around this area. Well, hello, David and Zamir. David and Zamir would like to know, do antelope fight using their horns or antlers? They do fight using their horns, but remember, only deer have antlers and antelope have horns. So antelope, if he breaks his horn, it's gone forever. If a deer breaks its antler, it'll grow back the next year. Thank you very much. Archie has managed to block the sun for me because I was doing the funny squints faces. The sun just happened to be in the worst spot. But yes, so they do fight using their horns, and they will also use their horns. Certain animals like buffalo will use their horns for protection against animals like lions. Now, this is where the lions like to live, so hopefully they're around. Very windy today. Hi Haley. Haley would like to know, do the lions hide or not? A lot. Well, they're not really hiding, they're just sleeping. Lions are very sleepy. They sleep about 20 hours a day, and they're only really active when it's cool. So later on, like now, as it gets cooler, I'm hoping the lions are going to get up and start walking. And even when they do move, for those 4 hours of movement, it's not one solid bit of movement. They might get up, walk for 20 minutes, sleep for an hour, and it also depends on how hungry they are. So I'm hoping that the lions around here are hungry and they're going to get moving a little bit earlier. So let's go see if we can find the lions. Okay, well, guys, I'm afraid I didn't manage to find a lion before the end of your drive, so you're going to have to come on another drive with us soon so we can show you the lions. But it has been great having all 3 schools on board, and hopefully we will see you again very, very soon. So, bye for now. And in the meantime, for everyone still staying with us, let us go across to the highly entertaining, the highly short, well, highly short, that doesn't make sense, the short James Henry, to see what he is up to this afternoon.
Hello everybody, and welcome to this end of the sunrise safari, sunset safari. I do apologise for our tardy appearance today. We've had a torrid time trying to figure things out with the jigger. We still haven't figured them out, and so now I will be conducting the next 2 hours of this drive from this tree. That is incorrect. I will not be staying in this tree. My name is James Henry. Fergus is on camera. And for those of you who have just joined us post the school drive, please talk to us using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Otherwise, you can use the chat stream on YouTube. I've climbed this tree in order to get a better vantage point of the elephant. Now you can see the elephant. Fergus will show it to you now. I will attempt not to fall out of this tree. But I really do find myself in a very interesting position, and I would be fascinated to know how that elephant would react to me should he come wandering by and sense me here. There's quite a lot of protection offered by the tree, but of course, were he to be irritated and angry enough by my presence, he could quite easily just push it over, with me in it, of course. That would be very unpleasant. Now, those of you who have been with us for the last few weeks, which I imagine is most of you, you will know that the elephants are spending a good deal of time wandering the Sabi sands looking for marula fruits. And it seems almost twee to say that these days, but what I was thinking about the other day was that where I used to live up north in Palaboa, it used to fruit, or the marulas used to fruit around about, they used to fruit around about December. And the people up there were as crazy about the marula fruits as the elephants are down here come February time. And in fact, around about Christmas, you couldn't find anybody to do a stitch of work anywhere. Half of them were gathering marulas, or say a third were gathering marulas, a third were brewing marula beer, and a third were lying in. It's quite windy. We'll probably just wander around the immediate environs of quarantine, see if we can find some interesting flowers and things, maybe follow this elephant for a bit longer and see what else he does. There's a strong wind blowing in from the southeast, and I'm sure you can probably hear it blowing on my microphone. I apologize for that. And we're facing straight into that wind now. He's a magnificent elephant, that. I don't think he's the same one we had the other day. Okay, now I have just had a message from the final control saying that when I'm ready, we can do the
Sorry about those technical difficulties, everyone, but look what we have here. We have some buffalo. We're having a little bit of a moment. I'm just going to move forward just a little bit so that we can see a little bit properly. The wind has just picked up, which is probably making them a little bit nervous, which happens. So we'll have a nice big part of the herd on our left as well as some of the herd on our right. This would have been the big herd that we saw yesterday afternoon and yesterday morning and a couple of weeks ago. It's about 200 in number. This is also the herd where we keep seeing the tiny little babies. And then I've just seen now at least 3 or 4 females that are pregnant. So we'll be getting some more babies. And let's hope that they stick around our side for a little bit longer so we can see buffalo more often. Now, I think that we're starting to see a lot more buffalo because of the rain distribution. So we talk about the rain from time to time. We talk about the buildup, and it comes over us, and sometimes it drops on us, and sometimes it carries on. So there's definitely rain in the area that falls. It doesn't always hit Djuma, but in the past week or so, it's hit Djuma more than it's hit anywhere else, so the buffalo have come down. Now, Kristen, sorry I'm having a little bit of trouble with my comms, but I do believe you were asking, is there a main male in the herd that does most of the mating? Kristen, there are several males in this herd. Actually, in a herd this large, there's going to be a huge amount of males, and all of them will participate in mating. There's not one dominant male. Can we hear them over the wind, these buffalo? Scarlet, a buffalo can do about 50 kilometers an hour, 40 to 50 kilometers an hour. I think the top that I've caught them running is about 50, and that was them being chased by some lions, and the whole herd was running up. The whole obstinacy, as it were. I'm just going to move us up a little bit farther for a little bit different view. The light is a funny angle. It's very harsh on our western side at the moment. So I'm going to see if we can either get some on the eastern side or find just a little bit of a better spot for everybody. I mean, the herd's so large, we could keep driving up this road forever and they'd be everywhere. I think maybe just up here is going to be a good bet for everybody. Just turn the car a little bit like this, and there we are. Justin, good question. You'd like to know how often buffalo sleep. Justin, they tend to, as the sun's going down, sort of form a little circle and bed down, and then ruminate throughout the night, and then start getting moving earlier in the morning. Depends if it's very hot or very cold. I've also seen buffalo herds still moving at night, so it also depends on where they feel the safest area is and how far they've traveled for the day. Buffaloes are very water dependent. They need water twice a day, so they need to be moving in areas that take them from water hole to water hole. They don't have territories, they've got home ranges. That's a nice big male coming through the back there. David, you're sticking me in a tricky wicket. David, you're asking if I've ever eaten buffalo. David, we have places where you can obtain venison meat, venison of many different hooved animals in the country. And yes, the only thing that I haven't tried is elephant, because I don't want to eat an elephant, and rhino, because I don't want to eat a rhino. I've eaten every other hooved, I've tried, I should say, every other hooved animal. And it's interesting. Jandre and I were actually talking about this the other day. In where we live in South Africa, cattle and goats and that type of meat are actually very harsh and hard on the landscape. It's not as sustainable. Buffaloes, kudu, impala, wildebeest, they're all meant to be here, and so are quite sustainable when you farm them. Now, I know I'm opening up a can of worms here, and I know that there's going to be some people who maybe are not excited about this conversation, but sustainably, it's a conversation to have every now and then. This area where we live right now, we do not harvest any of these animals for meat. These animals live completely in their wild areas. We also don't do any hunting on the area that we are in right now. So they just carry on. There are other properties across South Africa who do sustainable farming of venison meat. There's a really nice bull gendre just at the corner there of the road, kind of where you're heading now. Just on the left of the road, there's two. There's a female, and then he'll pick up his head every now and then. He's a really stunning male. The older buffalo bulls are not necessarily my favorite to walk into, but I do appreciate a nice older buffalo bull. I think something about a huge set of horns, and he doesn't really want to show himself, and the size of that boss is just, it's appealing as well as photographically appealing. But the one I want to show you, his back end is coming out more so than his front end, so we'll just have to wait a little while. Now I heard a little baby just calling now, so I'm assuming that we might get a view of one of the cute little youngsters. And hopefully eventually this herd will make it down to Chitwa Dam to have a drink. We're actually not far from there. Torsi, you want to know if buffalo are aggressive? They can be. Look, anything can be aggressive. Nyala can be aggressive. I have a friend that got horned in the side by a Nyala because he cornered him by accident. He came out the house and there was a Nyala in the garden, and there's a little corner fence there, and he walked around and he didn't notice him, and the Nyala charged him. So anything can be dangerous. What happens with things like these buffalo is the older males, when they leave the herd, they tend to be on their own, sometimes with another male, and they're grumpy. They've got little larvae that are burrowing into their horns. They are losing their skin. They're just grumpy old men. And so if you end up putting them in a scenario where they feel annoyed by it, they just come, and they tend not to stop. But a big herd like this, I could step out of the car and clap my hands and they're going to move off. Ravinda, good question. You're asking if buffalo are long-distance travelers. Ravinda, they can be, especially if the water sources that they need to access are farther apart. So if they have a big water source, say during dry season, which is our winter time here, they'll stick more in that area. But then let's say there's not enough food, enough grazing in that area, maybe they'll try another water source, and sometimes that means they have to travel farther. So they're only doing it to obtain resources. If they have enough resources in the area that they're in, they don't need to travel that far. If their resources are depleted, diminishing, or non-existent, then they'll move vast distances to obtain better resources. Oh, that one male's painting for you. Thanks, buddy. That buffalo indeed loves the camera. I once had a younger guest on my vehicle, and a buffalo was having a wee like this male is doing now, and sort of staring at us, and he's going, "What is he doing?" And I was sitting next to my then boss at the time with his own guest, and my boss, who's a male guy, turned to the little boy and said, he's painting with his paintbrush, my boy," and then sort of drove off. So every time I see buffalo doing that, I think of that story, and I laugh really hard. I mean, it's just it's just funny. I'm sorry. He's painting with his paintbrush. I mean, what other explanation could there be? Okay, I think let's go up to Jamie. I'll collect myself nicely. We'll go up to Jamie in Kenya, and then I think we're going to try and see if we can find Tundi again. If we can't find Tundi, we'll come back to our buffalo. Oh, he's a paintbrush.
Okay, so exciting plans that Noel has. We are still searching for the Olololos. I don't know where they've gone. They've been gone for a while. For our new viewers, that would have made no sense. The Olololos are a pride of lions. 4 lionesses and 13 cubs. It shouldn't be that hard to find 17 lions. It's quite a big pride. But we just haven't managed it. No one's managed it over the course of the last few days. And I've checked all of their favorite spots. I've even been down into the forest. I don't don't know where they vanished to. I did go and check the crowned crane nest, by the way. I did stop off there. No one was home. No sign of the crowned cranes. And from that angle, from the angle of the road, you can't really see if there's anything in that nest. So I did check. I just didn't find anything. Okay. So they're not up, or they could be up here in the long grass. I don't think so though. Dale, I think you asked about what fruits grow in both the Mara and in Djuma. We have a couple of different types of fruits. The one that's fruiting at the moment in Djuma that I'm very jealous of is the marulas. Now, a marula fruit is delectable. It is such a treat on those hot days, especially if you put it in the fridge and then you eat it. Oh, I miss it so much. I really want a marula fruit. I'm desperate for a marula fruit. So there's marula fruits, figs, prickly pears, I'm talking nonsense, white berries, guaris have fruits, jackalberries have fruits. There are lots of different fruiting trees and fruiting plants. There's some that are part of the tomato family, poison apple. Would that count as a fruit? I think so. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm going to carry on. There's loads of fruits, by the way. I'm going to carry on looking for our lions. Let's go across to James, who, if I've heard Faith correctly, has found an animal that I've just said really, really enjoys a good fruit.
Right, we are back again. I'm sorry about the last time you lost us. We ran out of batteries in one of our sort of appliances and we had to fix that. Anyway, we are still following our elephant bull here and trying to decide whether or not he can see us. And I think that he can, and I think that he just doesn't care. The wind is blowing perfectly from the southeast, and so there's no problem there. And apparently you've been chatting about what fruits there, and I've mentioned, of course, probably, I don't know, I've come out here so often and seen these elephants eating marulas. We've talked about it a lot. The marulas are fruiting here. They're the only things that are ripe at the moment. The guari bushes are threatening to ripen, but I think rather like last year because of the lack of rain, I don't think they're going to. They've just formed these sort of hard green berries that don't look like they're going to ripen. The white berry bushes are all finished. I haven't seen any sour plums. I think they're all finished as well. So it's basically only the marulas that are left as a fruiting substance out here. Alrighty, I think we're going to do what was known as an unscheduled broadcast with this elephant. So I'm going to shut up now and, well, I'll start speaking again when we are live with our new audience. Until then, well, enjoy the sight and the silence. Good afternoon to all of our new viewers. We are standing here in the Sabi sands of South Africa, part of the 8.5 million acre Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park, of which the Kruger National Park is the most enormous piece. My name is James Henry, and over there we've got an elephant bull eating marulas. Please ask any questions you'd like to during the course of our little broadcast. We're just going to see what this elephant bull does. At the moment he seems to be completely either unfazed or unaware of our presence. I don't think he's unaware of us. I think he knows that we're here. What we're going to do is have a little walk around here and see if we can't get another angle of him. The thing with walking at elephant bulls like this is you want to keep enough space that should he in some way become irritated, you've got enough space to get away from him, and also you want to make sure that he doesn't pick up your smell. Tricia, you say beautiful. It is beautiful, Tricia, and I have to tell you, it's a bit of a profound experience spending time with elephants like this on foot. And what we're just going to do, I'm going to walk a little bit closer to you so that you can come with me as we try and sneak slightly closer to the elephant. And the idea here is just to observe him, and I suppose when we are in the open like this, I mean, quite obviously if he has sight anything like as good as ours, and it's my opinion that they do have sight round about as good as ours, quite obviously we're not hiding from him. He will be able to see us. And so what we're doing here is trying to see exactly where the boundary is between him and us, and where it becomes uncomfortable for him or for us to be, because it's a difficult thing to gauge out here, and it's one of the ways that really gives us a nice understanding of the wilderness. Ian, you're wondering about his tusk length and how big his tusks will get. I'd say that's a 35-year-old elephant bull, and so I don't think his tusks are going to get much bigger. I think they're probably going to remain around about that size. He's never going to be what we call a big tusker. And Jay, you say, is he alone in this area? Well, he's alone in this particular area now, yes. And he's alone by design, because he is, of course, a bull, and the bulls like to spend all their time alone. But that's not to say there won't be herds around here. There could easily be herds in the thickets off to the south, west and east of where I'm standing now. They too will be looking for marula fruits largely, and he might be tracking or just sort of staying on the far fringes of the herd and remaining in audio contact, so he'll be able to hear the rumblings and chattings to each other as they carry on with their lives. Now, he did something very interesting as I was talking there. He turned very slightly to us, and he lifted his one leg off the ground and just sort of hung it there for a while, and then he turned it back again. Now, that's often an indication that they're feeling slightly uncomfortable or they're aware of something unusual. Michelle, you say, what would I do if he charged me right now? The first thing I would do is to throw the stick up in the air, and then I would run as fast as I could. No, I wouldn't do that. You'd have to assess what was going to happen. If this elephant really decided to give a serious charge from that distance, I like to think that we could probably get away from him. We could get into a thicket and disappear. That's why we're staying at this distance. I'm actually about, I'd say 80 to 100 meters from him. So that's a good 325 feet or so. And I think we could probably escape from him. No elephant that I'm aware of, having been aware of us as he is now, would just turn around and start charging. He may well turn around and lift his head up as if to say, you need to get out of here, in which case we'd listen straight away and we'd back off slowly, sort of wind our way through the trees and disappear from his view. But the chances of him actually turning around and just from his current relaxed state into a full charge, highly unlikely. Alrighty, if you've enjoyed this little broadcast, we are going to say goodbye to you. We have Noelle out this afternoon as well. She's with some buffalo. We've got 2 people up in the Masai Mara looking at interesting things, so you can just Google Safari Live or go to our YouTube feed and watch the rest of the show. For those of you watching on this unscheduled broadcast, we'll hopefully see you again very soon. Alrighty, I'm just going to go up to this tree, everybody. He's being so very confiding with us, this elephant, but you know, these things can change quite rapidly. And we don't want to have a situation where he becomes irritated enough either to leave his marula meal or tell us to leave him alone. So I think this is as close as I will get, not being a daredevil. I must say, it's much easier looking at them when you're in a clearing like this, when you can see what's going on. You have to keep reminding yourself, of course, to look from side to side, because there could be herds of elephant coming this way, or other bulls. But it's much easier viewing elephants in this kind of environment than it is in the big thickets down by the rivers, which is what happens, of course, most of the time. Now, Nariko, you're wondering how fast an elephant can run. Well, probably at about 45 to 50 kilometers an hour. I suppose a really, really fast one might get up to 55 or so. Very difficult to measure. That's sort of between let's say 30 and 45 miles an hour, and you want to know if a bull can run faster than a cow. Noriko, I would say they can probably run at roughly the same speed. A bull's got longer legs, in fact proportionately much longer legs, but of course he's much heavier. But a man is much heavier than a woman. So I would say probably a bull can run slightly faster than a cow. They always say that a lioness can run faster than a male lion, and I'm not convinced that that's true at all. You know, they always have... the different species compensate for the extra mass with extra muscle, and of course in the case of males, extra testosterone. And I think if you were to look at hyenas, for example, it's quite interesting, where the females have got more testosterone, they're bigger than the males, I think you'd find that they were much faster than the males. Alright, I missed exactly who we're going to be linking to. I think we're going to go back to the Mara, to some sleepy lions, with either Jamie or Brent. I'm going to guess and say Brent.
Yes, indeed. Well, we've got some fat cats. And remember, this is 100% live. And I'm afraid I was hoping that these lions were going to be getting up and getting moving as it got a bit cooler. But with that heavy panting you're seeing there, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be snooze, and some more snoozing for the Olololo Pride this evening. Hopefully they'll be a bit more active tomorrow morning. But for now, I'm afraid it's tired kitties. And you can see they've been sleeping here for quite a while. And how flat the grass is around there. And there's some more in the shade. Now, I was hoping to find them up in a tree today, but unfortunately I think the wind would have kept them cool enough that they decided there was no need to climb the shepherd's trees today. Oh, there we go, that's about the most movement you're going to see. That was a little leg stretch there by the looks of things. It's difficult to see even what part of a lion you're looking at in that grass, it's so thick. Ben 10 would like to know, can a constrictor eat a sleeping lion? Well, when you're talking about a constrictor, I assume you're speaking about a python. Pythons will eat lion cubs quite regularly, but an adult lion is too big for even the biggest python out here. It would come short. Now, one animal that hunts python quite regularly is the leopard. I've seen leopards catch pythons of over 4 meters before. So very, very interesting. But yes, pythons are a threat to cubs of all the big cats, in particular lion and leopard. When they use rocky dens, they will often actually in certain areas lose their cubs to the snake. There you go, you can see the shadow of the shepherd's tree. And I think we're going to move on. As I say, these lions are going to be flat cats for the rest of the afternoon. But at least I got to see a cat today. I didn't see any this morning. And I just heard from Jeffrey from Angama that where Archie and I turned off the border today and went up towards the picnic trees, if I hadn't have turned and I had taken a different road to come home, the cheetah brothers would have been found. But apparently they did head towards Tanzania, so who knows, maybe I'll go down there again tomorrow. I'm going to have to think about it, because it is quite a risk, because there's not much else happening down there near the border at the moment, but it is always wonderful to see those cheetah brothers, and they are quite unique, and they're uniquely battered and scarred, which is quite cool. Old boys. So there used to be 3 of them, there are now only 2. The third one was killed by lions, but about 2 years ago. Oh, I nearly forgot about the tracking earlier. We had to do the school drive, of course. So let's see if anyone has managed to get the track correct. Ben 10, you seem to like your reptiles. It is not a lizard, however, it is a mammal. Ah, Coast Spider, he says it's a mongoose. You are correct. But now I want to know which mongoose. Can't just say mongoose. We've got lots of different types of mongoose out here. Now, what have we got up ahead there? Ah, no, false alarm. The wind is dying down slightly, however, not as much as I would like. Kristen is wondering, is this time of the year in the Mara considered low tourist season? Yes, it is, Kristen. It is low season. There are still a huge amount of animals in the Mara, even during the low season. And high season is generally around when the wildly beasts arrive from Tanzania. That is considered high season. So from June, July, August, September is high season. Now, I just said earlier on today that my leopard luck in the triangle is absolutely bloody horrible, because Jamie has found yet another triangle leopard.
Have I found another triangle leopard? That would be quite lovely. Is this a moment where it runs across in front of our shot, Adrian? Like we did at the Hammerkorp nest? Right about and now. No? Maybe the timing's off. He's busy with maybe yes, of course. I understand that Brent has of course misheard what Faith said I was with. I'm so sorry to disappoint you. Maybe the leopard's still busy doing its makeup. Okay, and now. It's not how this works, is it? No. It would have been. I mean, of course it would have been impossible, but imagine if that had happened. Imagine if a leopard had come trotting out of the long grass as we said that. It would have been magic. I would have been able to tell you absolutely anything in the future and you'd believe me. It would have just been so very appropriate. Unfortunately, there are no leopards. Well, I'm sure there's a leopard here somewhere, but there's no leopard here. And I feel like a right silly twit because I didn't realize that Brent was with the Olololos. So I went driving along and I saw all the vehicles and I said to Adrian, "Oh, we found them, yay!" Oh, Brent's there, never mind. Okay. So after all that, having told you that we were looking for the Olololos, I didn't know Brent had them. So we're both making mistakes today. Hold on a sec, I'm just going to pull off the road quickly, for I am blocking the passage of another vehicle, and then I will, there we go, and there's actually some zebra further up the hill as well. It's really quite lovely in this afternoon dusty light. So Mike is wondering if these are the zebra that come and eat outside our tent. Hi, how are you doing? Hi, Jeff. Yes, they could quite possibly be. So there are loads of zebra that live up at the top near our campsite, and often the zebra will come down to the plains during the day and then move back up around the campsite at night. So these zebra are busy on their journey up the hill towards our camp. So yes, they feed outside our tents. They haven't been for a little while, have they, Faith? Adrian, have you seen zebra in our camp recently? No, I haven't seen them for a while. No, actually that's a good point. Faith says that they haven't been round since the Olololos killed one right outside our kitchen. I suppose traumatic memories associated with the place. Oh, kicking each other. Kicking and biting. Alan, yes, there are road maps for the Mara. You are able to purchase a road map of the Mara at any one of the entrance gates, and none of the roads really have names except for the main ones. And there are also lots of little 2 tracks and mysterious... Hey, how are you doing? No problem, don't worry. The dust is even lovelier, it's making the scene even lovelier, so no stress. What was I talking about? Oh yes, road maps. So none of the roads have names, and a lot of the 2 tracks run... There's a rough idea on the map, and the rest of it you sort of have to guess yourself. And the funny thing about that has been my experience with learning directions here. Nobody ever really, when the other guide's giving you directions to a sighting, they never really say things, they don't term things the way that we do when we describe where something is. And often it's very close, it's right there. You know the big tree? Yes, I think I know the big tree you mean. Go to the big tree and it's very close. 5 kilometers later, you eventually manage to find what it was that they were talking about. So there are road maps, and you never get... My favorite way of describing this is that you never get lost on a macro level. You always know roughly where you are. There's lots of hills and landmarks that you can refer to, but you do get lost on a micro level. Find yourself on a road that doesn't go where you want it to, or you're in a valley and you can't remember if this is the right valley or the wrong valley because all the valleys look the same. And it's even worse at night. Trying to figure out where you are in the pitch dark when you can't see the ridges and you have to look for the masts, the various lights dotted around the Mara. Serena's great though. Serena really helps because it's sort of central and on top of a hill. You can always use it to roughly orientate yourself. And there are certain areas that we are allowed to off-road on, like the one that we are at here. What? That was not good English. The area that we're in at the moment is a place that we are allowed to off-road. Where Brent was with those lions, we are not. Okay, Leopard. Come on. Out you come. You're hiding. Okay. So we're going to go and search for the fabled leopard. Let's go across to Brent, who has found a pangolin and an aardvark enjoying a tryst.
I swear I heard leopard in my ear, guys. I'm telling you, I did not hear zebra. Zebra and leopard don't even remotely sound the same. Maybe I just got leopards on the brain at the moment, which is one of the reasons I'm coming to this area. As it's getting a bit cooler, I want to go pop my head over and look on the edge of the forest here. But no, I did not find a pangolin and aardvark, thank you, Jamie. Oh, we've got some more answers for the mystery mongoose track. Austin and Rocky getting closer with banded mongoose. However, it's a bit bigger than banded mongoose, and it's a nocturnal mongoose, not a diurnal mongoose. Michelle Morningstar says Indian grey mongoose. I'm afraid not, Michelle. The Indian grey mongoose, as the name sort of hints, lives in India. But we do get 2 species of grey mongoose in Kenya. The large and the small grey mongoose. So there we go, we're on the edge of the forest. I just want to have a quick perusal. All I see is a giraffe. Well done to Project Alpha, Dale and Debbie. You guys have got it correct. It was indeed a marsh mongoose. You spot the giraffe there, Arch? So zoom. It's hiding right in the middle of that clearing. Behind a tree there. Keep going. Where'd it go? There it is. And see the giraffe. A little bit lower. There it is. Well, it's not a leopard, but it's named after a leopard. Well, a scientific name at least. It's got spots. That's something. Okay. No, Unluckily, no leopards here for now, so I'm going to keep moving up a little bit higher and then look back down into the forest again. And it is the spot where we have seen leopard quite regularly. Well, Jamie's seen leopard quite regularly. I've only ever seen the big male up in camp on the airstrip once or twice. I have seen the Majia Chafu female quite a few times down near the Morrow Bridge. Maybe that's where I'll go tomorrow, to the Morrow Bridge. I haven't been down there for ages as well. Sid wants to know, what are the poisonous plants you get in the Mara? Oh my goodness. Look at that. Is it going to escape before we can get it? Look at that. Oh, it's gone. It was a completely mud-caked terrapin. I mean, it looked like a mobile rock for a second. Sid was wondering about poisonous plants in the Mara. Well, Sid, the balanites trees that dot all around us are quite noxious. The oil that's inside the actual nut, it can be quite noxious. You can use it to poison fish if you're hungry, if it's in a non-flowing system, if it's in a static pool. And the euphorbias are also quite noxious. But apart from that, there's lots of stinging nettles in certain parts of the Mara. But I'm not too familiar with the noxious plant species in the Mara. I'm pretty sure a lot of them would be quite similar to the other similar noxious plants throughout the African savannas. Okay, I'm going to send you across to Jamie, who's going to bid you adieu from the Mara.
It's just such a beautiful evening. Everything's so golden. All the dust that's in the air has really added to the atmospheric nature of this afternoon. It's beautiful. I'm actually sitting trying to work out exactly what it was that was screeching in the forest a moment ago. I think it's those monkeys. I think it's those blue monkeys. It doesn't sound like anything else I've heard. It does sound like a monkey. Unfortunately, the wind, I think, is still too strong for us to be able to show it to you. I can't hear it anymore now anyway. Rishi, no. Well, yes. Okay. Let me qualify what I was about to say. Rishi's question is, do the number of animals decrease during the off-season or the quiet season? Yes, because the migration's not in town, and there's no way that I could possibly try to tell you that there are no fewer animals, since about 2 million of them all head back towards Tanzania. So it would be a stretch of the imagination for me to say to you that there are not less animals during the quiet season, but there is still a vast amount to see, is actually what I was going to say. Of course, the lions and the leopards are territorial. They don't go anywhere. You've got all of the licking topi action and the baby Tommies dashing about. There is plenty to see. You just don't necessarily see all of the zebra and the wildebeest and the Tommies of the migration. So there's lots to see, and there's lots of reasons to visit the Mara during the off-season. If I were you, if you were able to come on safari, I would come around about now. In the grass, or possibly a little bit earlier when the grass is still quite short. It's quiet, there's not nearly as many people. You don't see the migration, but you do see plenty of other things. And in fact, you probably notice more because you're not distracted by a couple of 100,000 wildebeest braying everywhere. And you stop and have a chance to look at things like buffalo and the other creatures. Okay guys, it's been an absolute pleasure sharing this time with you. It is the end portion of the Sunset Safari from the Mara team, but the safari will continue with the crew across in South Africa. For those of you that have joined us on some of the other social media platforms, we'll be saying goodbye to you. But remember, if you Google Safari Live, you'll be able to continue to watch for at least, I think it's another hour still. So bye from the Mara. It's been wonderful. We'll see you tomorrow.
everyone, I have a surprise for you, and I'm super excited about it. Okay, so Tundi was found farther south in Little Gowrie where we can't access, unfortunately, but the guys there are keeping an eye on her, and they'll let us know if she goes back towards where we think the cub is. Then we went to go try and find Hukumuri in that crazy little drainage line. Hukumuri, for any of you that may not know, is a large male leopard that has come onto the Djuma property and is trying to establish himself. He's actually slowly turning into my favorite leopard. I don't think he can really beat Mvula, but he's slowly turning into my favorite male leopard. But we are now headed to a surprise that has to do with leopards, but it's a leopard that I have not seen yet, and I am so excited. So I'm going to let you guys think about what leopard I haven't seen yet. It is a male leopard, I'll put it that. And I'm busy. I'm not Ferrari Safari in that general direction, but I'm getting there as quickly as I possibly can, because I don't like not seeing any of the leopards we have in our area. So I was super happy to see Djuma for the first time the other morning, especially because he was interacting with Hukumuri there. That was pretty great. So this male is one I haven't seen, and I'm really excited. He is about 19 months old, if I remember correctly, 20 months old. And if I remember correctly, actually he might be slightly older than that. And he is one of Tundi's youngsters. I think I'm giving away too much. I think maybe you've all figured it out by now. But let's wait and see. We'll do some ID marking, and then I'll let you all decide. I know who he is already. Ah, Sharon, you've given up the ghost. Yay! It is. It's Tumbo, Sharon. Well done. Okay. So yeah, Sharon, so we're headed over there. I'm super excited. The guys are keeping an eye on him for me while we maneuver there. So all of the exciting things happening up in the Masai Mara, as well as all the excitement that's been happening here between Djuma and Chitwa. Those buffalo were very great. Those fighting hippos were pretty great. Now we just need to get some spotted, well, rosetted wonderfulness on the screen for all of you. And I also need to not lose Gendre off the back of the car. Ooh, I believe Mr. James Hendry is out and about around a quarantine area. So I think let's head on over to him so that he can say hello.
Hello everybody, we are on Jigger now, attempting to re-establish contact with our Skycam, which seems to have lost picture. Fergus, do you have any idea why we should have lost picture on our Skycam?
The average ones that I would imagine.
No, oh how very distressing, because we've got a nice picture of the elephant. It's very irritating. I will probably now break something very shortly. Okay, well our elephant was over there. Let me just go a little bit forward. We might be able to get a view of him for you. It might have to be me on camera, because Fergus is trying desperately to not plant the Skycam on. Oh, you're going to do it, are you, Fergus? I think it's very kind. Thank you. No, you do it. I'll be out of focus. Conrad has come up with the idea of a reboot, so we'll do that. There we go. We've now rebooted the secondary feed. There is our elephant, same one that we were viewing on foot, reacting to our vehicle in much the same way that he reacted to us on foot. Oh, we've got some very special picture coming through now, Fergus. It looks like some snow. What was that, Kirsten? Yes, we have a serious problem, clearly. No, we've got sort of snow with a bit of green in it. It's quite attractive. It's sort of attractive from an 80s computer game point of view. It's not really attractive from a higher definition signal point of view. Right, the elephant is gone. Okay, let's move along. Disastrous. We'll carry on. We'll probably park the drone back home. So, Noelle is heading towards a surprise that I'm not sure if she's told you about or not. Now, Scarlett, you're wondering how you tell the difference between a mock charge and a real charge. Scarlett, there is no such thing as a mock charge. And you will still hear people using the term mock charge. But basically, when an elephant turns and comes towards you with its head up, that's what people used to refer to as a mock charge. And basically, the inference was that the elephant wasn't being serious, that he was mocking you, that he was just trying to call your bluff, and that he was never actually going to charge you. Now that's rubbish, because a mock charge can easily just turn into a full charge. So a warning where he comes towards you with his head up can easily just turn into a full nasty charge. And so we don't use the term mock charge anymore. If an elephant charges and stops, then you back out the area and you stay away and you hope that he doesn't follow through on it. So, I mean, the difference between a warning and a full charge is that the elephant will come with his head up and his ears out, and if he's going to turn into a full charge, he'll tuck his head down, or her head down, fold the ears back, tuck the trunk underneath, and then come. And they may or may not come silently or with screaming. Either will be just as terrifying. Laura, you want some advice on elephant mood patterns? Well, Laura, I'm interested to know what sort of mood patterns you're thinking about. I mean, I guess the thing with a bull to watch out for is whether or not he's in must, and you would tell that by whether or not he was dripping from his nether regions. Basically, they drip a huge amount of very smelly liquid during their time of must, and that can put them into a bad temper, but not always. Almost always, if an elephant is feeling stress of any kind, be it physiological or emotional, they will stream from the gland on their temples between their eyes and their ears, and you can see it very clearly. It looks like sort of weeping, although it obviously isn't weeping. So that's something to watch out for. And elephants in that state could object to having you around. They generally tend to try and be away from any kind of abnormal disturbance. Otherwise, if they lift their legs when you're watching them and they sort of fidget in the same way that you would fidget if you were shy in an awkward social situation, you know, if they kind of pick things up and drop them again, or lift their feet off the ground and not really walk anywhere, that's kind of displacement behavior, which is so recognizable in human beings once you actually realize it's happening, is very clear with elephants, and it's something you've got to be quite careful of. I think, Ferg, we're going to have to land that thing. All right, let's go across to Tumba. No, it's not Tumba. We're going to go, what was I saying? Let's go across to Noel, who's heading somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where.
I am by Tumba, and I'm staring at him. He's a beautiful little male. I'm so excited right now. I actually want to go around just a little bit. Let's try this for now. He's peeking his little head out through the branches there. Yay! We haven't seen Tumba in forever. If I remember correctly, the last time we saw Tumba was when Tristan had him on that termite mound, which was a couple of weeks ago, several weeks ago. Yeah, early Jan, if I remember correctly. And I'm over the moon right now. Yes, he's pretty, hey? There's a nice yawn, so he's probably going to get moving at some point. Now, Gendria and I actually want him to stay in the tree. We want him to stay in the tree until the sun starts setting, giving us those beautiful colors that it's going to do this evening, so that we can do a nice shot from there. But I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll have to wait and see. But that's on our wish list for this afternoon. So everybody, this is my first time seeing Tumba. He seems intent. There looks like there might be some prey species that are about he might be interested in, but I would be interested to know if any of you, the viewers, have any stories of Tumba that you'd like to share with me. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter or on YouTube chat, and I would love to hear them. And of course he's perched in a beautiful marula tree. I got so used to doing bingo for our TV show that I keep thinking to myself, oh, leopard, marula tree, bingo, bingo. Steffi, if you're watching tonight, I hope you get a good sighting like this on your trip that you won. H. Macy, you're saying he looks super healthy. I would agree, H. Macy, he does look super healthy. He's definitely seen something that's interesting to him. The wind is blowing his scent towards us. So whatever is interesting to him is upwind of where he is. There's a slight swirl to the breeze. But you see that. You see how he's sort of moving and also intent. It's interesting because I think whatever he can see, which I can't see from where I'm sat, where I'm sat. Yeah, maybe Gendre might be able from his angle. Is if he moves out of that tree, it might see him. So I'm not quite sure, or it could just be farther off because he is perched quite high. Could be warthog, could be impala. This would be my guesses. Could even be something like a duiker or steenbokkie. We'll have to wait and see. The anticipation. So I was planning on staying this spot and then moving around to the other side, but I think because he's definitely staring at something, I'm not going to move too much. I think I'm just going to stay here. Obviously I don't want to interfere with anything, and we do have a nice view of him. Whatever he can see now, it looks like it's moving more towards in front of us. We've got Tax and his guests are with us now. As you know, Tax and I do a lot of work together on Game Drive. James Richard, interesting, you're saying it looks like Xidulu female. So, James Richard, the update that I got about this being Tumba is from one of our guides who guides every day, and he's saying that it was Tumba. So I will have to wait and see if I can see male parts there. But James Richard, I know you know the leopards very well. The other guide also knows them quite well, so I don't know who to defer to on this subject. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, so now we have a few other guesses here. That's actually quite a nice view. Taxon's just busy with his guess, so I can't triple check. But James Richard, if you're saying that, if you're saying that it looks like Xidulu female, I think I might actually defer to you for the moment. Xidulu female is also a female that I haven't seen, so I'm still excited. And I don't have any, and I have no reference for spot pattern with Xidulu female or with Tumba. Now that this leopard has turned around out of its little sort of branch there, you can see that it is definitely a female. So James Richard, yeah, I'm going to go with you on that. Well done. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Again, this is why interactive and live safaris are so good. That's a big pause for a female. James Richard, how old is Xidulu? If you don't mind my throwing a question back at you. It's a nice shot, Gendre. Crystal, you're saying Ingrid Dam, young female. Crystal, as far as I know, Xidulu and Ingrid Dam, young female, are the same leopard, if I'm remembering correctly from the newest updates I was given. Thanks, James Richard. You're saying definitely Xidulu. I'm going to defer to you. Thank you very much for that, everybody. So this highlights a really interesting subject that comes up. And it actually came up a little bit with the Hukumuri story. And where does Hukumuri come from? And why was he misnamed? Etc., etc. So, look, most of the guides that I work with at Wild Earth, well, look, all the guides that I work with at Wild Earth, but also most of the guides that I work with just on the properties where we traverse are extremely professional and are very good at what they do. But again, we are also just human, and so we do have times where we'll say, "Oh, look, it's so and so," and it ends up being something else. All right, that's the first thing being said. The other thing that I just want to point out with regarding that is sometimes, which ends up happening, is you get a lot of either new guides, new to guiding, or new to an area, and you'll sometimes end up with scenarios where you're still busy learning the leopards, and they can be mixed up. And I actually think that that's what happened with Hukamuri regarding that, and then it just sort of stuck around for a little bit, and then that's why it is what it is. I've also worked on properties where we have leopards that overlap different properties, and on each single property they're called something different. Wendy, thanks so much. You're saying that Xidulu has a 4-4 spot pattern, so when she turns her head again, let's have a triple check look. I like this. Everybody's doing IDs with me this afternoon. Come, sweetheart, turn your head. So Karen, you're saying she was born September, October in 2014, which would make her just over 3 years old, which would fit in with the size that I'm seeing right now, from what I can see. And then, of course, if she was also called Ingrid Dam young female, then her mum would be Ingrid Dam female. I'm really digging these vibes with that sky, Gendre. Now, of course, now that we've got the 4-4 spot pattern to compare, oh, there she turns her head. Perfect. Beautiful. I'm itching for my camera. I wonder if she smells something as opposed to seeing it. Karen, are you saying 5-4 now? I'm seeing a 5-5 on this female. This female has a 5-5. So you can actually see it right there perfectly. That 5-5. All right. Well, this female has a 5-5 spot pattern. So I think everybody, let's double check in all of your notes and everything that you have there. There's the 5 on the right-hand side, which would be the left when you're IDing, and then she'll turn her head again, and we'll get the 5 on her left, the right when you're IDing. There's the 5 there. She definitely wants to hunt. I'm hoping she hunts for us on screen. Although I will take her in this beautiful dappled light in that marula tree with that gorgeous background any day. Alright, James has the drone up and running, so let's head on over there and see what he can get for us on screen.
But I don't have the drone up in the air. Fergus has got the drone up in the air. Of course, Sebastian is the greatest French Gabonese Air Force pilot in history. I'm not sure what the equivalent for Fergus is going to be, but I shall think of something as the days go on. We're going to drive and fly down towards Treehouse Waterhole, see what we can find over there, see if old Hukamuri-san hasn't pitched up there to have a drink. And of course, if you are watching us for the first time, Hukamuri, a young, well, sort of in his prime male leopard who's just come into the area and seems to have excluded Tingana, the hitherto Duke of Djuma. So we'll pop down there and see what we can find. It is a glorious afternoon. The sun is casting sort of not quite golden rays yet, I'd say more butter-coloured rays of light over the Lowveld this morning. And I'm told that it's 29 degrees Celsius, 84 degrees Fahrenheit. That feels roundabout right. Often the weather report is a greater work of fiction than an election in Zimbabwe. Thankfully, not today. Faye, you're wondering if elephants mourn and bury their dead. They certainly mourn their dead. Well, we think they do. As much as we can understand elephant behavior, most of us who have a sense that animals can be sentient, or maybe not sentient's not the right word, but certainly can feel emotion, believe that they mourn their dead, and certainly what they do is they go up to the skeletons of their dead and they'll put the bones on their heads and stand very quietly around them, and they'll do the same around the carcasses of animals that have died. But what's interesting is that they do not bury their dead, no. So it's not like they have cemeteries where they go and then have a funeral or something like that. They leave the bodies of their fallen comrades where they lie, and they don't worry too much about burying them. They're not really blessed with great digging equipment, and the the complexities of burying a 6-ton animal are well beyond, it would seem, the tool-using abilities of your average elephant. But definitely they mourn their dead. Alrighty, we're going to go back to the sky cam. There it is, it's just right above us now. Now, Fergus, if you can spot Hukamuri on your first afternoon out with me, I will be most impressed. Fergus is totally silent now because he's concentrating so very hard.
You have to talk in radio speak.
Oh, I have to talk in radio speak to get you to speak. All right, fair enough. I'm not going to do that right now. Kirsten was just saying from the final control that she thought it looked rather nice and green. I think that is a slight trick being played by the softness of the light right now. You can see underneath the greenness of the trees that, yes, there is a covering of green, but there's still a real kind of sparseness to the grass cover there. And I think while it is a little sort of, there's a hint of green on top of the brown carpet almost, if this is all we've got to see us through the dry months, it's going to be a heavy season for the animals out here, certainly for the grazers, and consequently everyone else, as we saw during the last drought. It was very interesting, that, and while I don't wish to get into the sort of sordid and very well-worn tale of white muscle disease in our lions, of course the big story was that the buffalo had nothing to eat, and so they started to lose health, and although the lions were managing to kill them with gay abandon, they weren't providing the nutrition that the lions needed, and so the lions too got sick. So although it may seem that a drought is a boon time for predators, it's actually quite dangerous for all involved, especially if it drags on. Right, let us go back to Noel, who I believe is not looking at Tumba, but a female leopard by the name of Xidulu, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, used to be known as the Ingrid dam female, and was the first consort, here on Djuma anyway, of Hukamuri, the male leopard.
We're sitting with this female who apparently was mating with Hukamuri. Now, I just spoke with Taxon again, and he's saying he's never seen this female before. So if Ingrid dam young female has a 5-4 spot pattern, now Xidulu female, this female has a 5-5 spot pattern. So if we don't have a 5-5 spot pattern for a female in this area, and specifically, look, you can have a 5-5, but it has to be correlating to the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like we've talked about, right? Then we're not sure. But now Taxon's worked in this area for a very long time, so if he says he doesn't know this female, then I'm going to go with him on that one. And White Owl, you were saying she was mating with Hukamuri. White Owl, do you remember where that was? You said the 6th of Feb. I'd be interested to know which property. Oh, she's so pretty. And she's not doing the usual lazy in a tree. She is looking around, giving you an opportunity for some really lovely screenshots. Some beautiful light in the eye. I like how she's resting that one paw on that little knobby, stubby part of that of that branch. Penny Pine, you're saying you've been spelling her name Xidulu, but not the way we spell Xidulu, which is Xidulu, but you've been spelling it shoe like the shoe, and do like do, D-O-O, and then Lu. So you've got the phonetics down. We'll work on the spelling. But again, this is not 100% confirmed that this is Xidulu. The update that we got on Xidulu's spot pattern is 5-4. This female is a 5-5. So if Xidulu is a 5-4, that is not this female. Everyone, I think, while we're watching her and contemplating, let's do our bit of a moment of silence. The wind is really nice, the temperature is really good, and it's a pretty subject. It's not the sunset yet, but I think that this is a good spot to do it, especially with the noises and everything that we have going on. So let's just enjoy her for a little bit. I'll also give everyone time to contemplate and think about who she may be. All right, everybody, we've got a little bit of yawns and stretches. That was a nice little moment there. Now, everyone, you've been comparing photos and you're agreeing that it's Xidulu. So then Xidulu will need to have a 5-5 spot pattern, as this female has a 5-5 spot pattern. So we can all then correct our notes there, and thank you all very much for doing that homework. I really appreciate that. It's extremely helpful. It's not just helpful for our show and helpful obviously for all of you who really care about our leopard community here and what happens, but it's also helpful when we have people who, like yourselves, who watch the show twice a day, every day for the most part, because your screenshots that you're taking are paramount to research, pretty much. And so that ability, what we just did now, our whole conversation that we did just now, is very important then carrying forward for any other guides that might be here or anything else that might be needed for this female. So now triple confirming that this is Xidulu female, triple confirming that this is the female that mated with Hukamuri on the 6th of Feb. Then we now know the lineage of her cubs that will come out of that mating, etc., etc. So thank you all very much. It is much, much appreciated, and thank you all for taking time to assist with all of that. I could appreciate it more than I think you know. And Taxon's busy listening to me. His guests are also busy being sneaky on the YouTube on their phones and and chatting with everybody, which is pretty cool. Not gonna lie. I'm enjoying that very much. All right, so Xidulu female. And she mated on the 6th of Feb, so we'll make notes of that. And then in 110 days, she should start denning. And then hopefully in 4 months to 5 months, up to maybe about 6 months, we'll start seeing babies of hers. And maybe, if we're lucky, she'll den somewhere on Djuma. That would be absolutely fantastic. Diane, that's a oh, she's going to come down the tree. Diane, I'm going to answer your question just now. Oh, let's watch this quickly. Here she comes. Oh, everyone, how beautiful. I'm itching for my camera. Take screenshots. This is absolutely fantastic. So Diane, you were wondering if she's there because of the new male. Diane, I think she's here for a couple of reasons. I think one of the reasons is that possibly Hukumuri's around. The other reason is I think because Shadow's been more in Hoffman's and Little Gallery, and Tundi's now moving to, oh, look at that, everybody. I don't think you understand how badly I want to grab my camera right now. I'm going to let you all do your work and do those gorgeous screenshots that you do, and I know a few of you will send them on to me, and I appreciate that more than you know. She's going to come down the tree. So Diane, I think it's partly to do with Hukumuri. I think it's partly to do with the fact that there's a void in this particular area with a dominant female because Shadow's moved on farther south and Tundi seems to have moved south and east, and so she's sort of seen a gap in what used to be part of Karula's territory, and she might take it because, as far as I know, and you all can stand corrected on, or I can stand corrected on this, you all can correct me, with Ingrid Dam female, if her territory is surrounded by other females, then she's not necessarily going to have much to give to her daughter, which would be Xidulu. And so Xidulu would need to move on to a little bit of a different area. It would still be somewhat adjacent to her mother's. So she's probably just catching a gap. And then if she was born in 2014 and she's just over 3 years old, I would suspect that this would be possibly her first mating and first litter. Sometimes they mate a little bit younger than this, but that would be my suspicions. Peter, really good question. You want to know if Impala would notice that she's in the tree. Peter, if they can see her and or smell her, then they would notice. But if she's hidden herself well enough, or they're moving far enough away, then no, they wouldn't necessarily notice that she was there. They might just pass straight on by. She'll wait for them to get out of sight, and then she'll start moving around like you just saw now. I'm really loving this shot right now. Look at that. She has pretty eyes. She's contemplating coming all the way down. But that one little bit of light on her left eye is pretty great. She definitely sees something that we haven't seen. That's gorgeous. She just mustn't go towards Sydney's Dam. I sometimes lose signal by Sydney's Dam. She must sort of stay in this area. Carol, you're noticing that her tail looks quite long. Carol, she's actually relaxed it all the way. See that? It's pretty much straight. And she's also put it on a little bit of a curve, so I think it's appearing a little bit longer than normal. Usually when you see with leopards, they've got a little bit of a curve in the tail there. But she also maybe has a slightly longer tail than the average leopard. It can happen. Not as long as a cheetah's tail, that's for sure. She's definitely intent on something. We're in this great little area. Oh, there's a hyena! There we go, that's what she's been looking at. That's why she's been looking around the way she's been looking around. Ah, mystery solved. There we go. Sorry, so I was saying we're seeing this interesting area where it's a little bit open, but then there's a lot of bushes, so then it's hard for me to see exactly what she's looking at. We've now discovered what she's looking at. Hello, spotted hyena. Thanks, Chandra. There we go. And then now notice she's turned herself around in the tree. So that's what she's been keeping her eye on, and that's why she's been moving the way that she's been moving. Look at her looking. We'll see if that hyena pops out again. Oh, fantastic. Hyenas like to follow leopards around. They like to follow leopards around and try and steal their kills before they can get them in a tree. Lamore, you want to know if Xidulu is a threat to Tundi and Cub? Lamore, Tundi and Cub are very far from where we are now. Also, this part of Tundi's territory, well, Karula's / Tundi / Shadow, although, you know, as we all know, Karula's no longer with us, is not her normal places where she goes. I've seen Tundi close to here, and I'm sure there's another presenter who's probably seen her up here, but I haven't seen her in this area for When did we do our last TV show? In the second week of December. I haven't seen her anywhere close to this area since then, since just before TV when we were doing our rehearsals then. So she was in her core territory, which is there around Milwaukee, and then she's slowly been moving east and then south to sort of stay away from Hukumuri. So she's not a threat at the moment. If Tandi were to come into this area with her cub, then yes, that's a possibility. But remember, Tandi's also a much older leopardess than this female here. This female is still younger. Much younger than Tandi is. Tandi's around 11 years old. So how much of a threat, I couldn't say. If she did find Tandi's cub, then I don't think that would end up well for Tandi's cub, but I think the chances of her finding Tandi's cub at the moment with where Tandi is habitating is extremely small. She's being very perky for us. I'm liking her personality very much from what we're seeing thus far. Relaxed with both the vehicles. Interested in this hyena, but not overtly upset about it. Listening, smelling, looking. It's possible that there's more hyena around. This is not far from our last TV show episode that we had when those 3 hyenas rocked up and were sort of harassing Hukumuri. We're not far from there. Nix, you're curious to know if leopard are afraid of hyena. Nix, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily afraid of hyena. I don't think they necessarily like hyena. I think that they would prefer not to have anyone trying to steal their kill or injure them in any way, or possibly be something that they have to keep an eye on. I think they find it more of an annoyance rather than being afraid of it. But also, let's say the Xidulu female were to have a small cub with her. There might be a bit of fear that's in there because that cub can't defend itself as well as she can, as a full-grown adult. I think more of an annoyance than anything. Again, depending on the scenario, and scenarios change. Minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, year by year. I think that hyena is just busy circling. I'm wondering if maybe she had a kill that she's finished that's not far from here that's bringing in those hyena. Or possibly it's the temperature, even though it's still nice and sunny out, the temperature has dropped to a very nice degree at the moment. So we have a lot of leopards that are moving about and predators that are moving about a little bit earlier. Now, Mr. James Hendry and Ferg are still busy playing with the drone, so I think let's head on over to them and see what they've got for us.
Well, what we're trying to do, everybody, is find Hukumuri. We went in to check where I think Noel had already checked this afternoon, but we thought maybe he would have come back then. So we're driving very slowly along this drainage system, and I'm hoping that Fergusto here is going to show us the drainage system. Can you see the drainage system, Fergus? Can you? Ah, yes, there it is. You can see it there to our right-hand side. Scarlett, you're wondering about when these roads were formed. Well, I'd love to tell you that there was some, well, I suppose there is an element of this. Some of these roads were animal paths, you know, between the holes. But many of them were formed probably in the early 80s, I imagine, by landowners here who purchased properties up in the northern Sabi sands and then sort of drove the tracks, and eventually the roads became and they have become permanent fixtures. But of course, before that time, the local people would have been driving various grazing grounds and watering holes, and that too would have left tracks and obvious paths to follow. And so I suspect many of these roads were in fact those sorts of cattle paths or wagon paths if you go even further back, and some of them would have been natural animal migration paths. But of course, most of the animal paths you can see, I mean, the picture there, yeah, you can just see where one or two paths trace their way through the bush away from the roads. Those head towards water, and the advent of artificial water in this area would have brought about the formation of those farms. Those are paths. That's what I'm looking for. Good. Now this is the little drainage system that feeds into the Umluwamati, which is just down here, and then we're going to go down towards Twin Dams and see if old Hooksy baby isn't sitting on the banks there, quaffing himself a pina colada as the sun goes down on his new territory. If we do see something else, we will in fact show it to you as well. Now Tom, this is a very good question that has probably a very complicated answer, but I'll try and give it to you. You want to know why there's so many trees here versus in the Mara? Well, the Mara, interestingly enough, although it seems a much wilder, more remote place than the Sabi Sands, it is actually much more closely associated with human beings and their survival off the land than is the Sabi Sands. And I mean, obviously the soil is completely different there, the geology is completely different, everything about that area from a physical point of view is very different from it is here in the Lowveld, but essentially it probably used to be fairly heavy savanna at one stage, and over the course of, well, not really long actually, probably about 100 years or so, it's been denuded of bush by both elephants and human beings, and that's why those grasslands exist. So we don't really know what it looked like prior to, let's say, the middle of the 19th century. But what we can say is that it was heavily inundated with human beings, with Maasai, and with their cattle. That whole Mara Serengeti ecosystem, up until around about 1898 or so, I think that's when it was, when the Rinderpest came through. The Rinderpest was very kindly brought to Africa by the Italians when they were trying to, well, they got a bit jealous of all the other European powers that had colonies in Africa and thought they'd have one of them their own, and they brought cattle to what they called Abyssinia, which is of course Ethiopia. That was a disaster for them, but with their cattle they brought this disease called the Rinderpest, and the Rinderpest wiped out just about every cloven-hooved animal from Abyssinia all the way down into the Kruger National Park. And what it did was to kill all of those cattle that the Maasai had. And so the Maasai had to move away from the area, and they disappeared, and with their disappearance the trees came back. And what's interesting then is that the trees allowed for the return of the tsetse fly, and the tsetse fly of course is a cattle killer. And so what it meant was that although when the Rinderpest disappeared, that Mara Serengeti ecosystem was not habitable for human beings and their cattle, and well, until much later. And then what happened was, as the wildlife started to come back, so the elephants came back, and when the elephants came back, they started to clear the area of heavy wood that had started to grow up in the absence of the cattle and the people. And so you can see that there's a very intimate relationship between people and the Maasai Mara. Have you lost it, Ferg? It's just behind us there. We're okay. Oh, drone's gone black screen, I'm afraid. But we're okay. So that's the story. And human beings have never lived in anything like as greater concentrations in this area, and that's also largely because of the tsetse fly, which doesn't exist here anymore. Okay, we're going to keep on our search. Let's go back to Noel and the leopard.
Alright, she's come out of the tree and she's on the move, so I think let's follow her and see what she's going to do. She spotted something. Taxon's going to come and join me. See what we can do about getting a little bit of leopard action here. This is fantastic. There she goes. There she's moving. She's moving around. She's seen something that's really interesting for her. Ian, you'd like to know if leopard ever hunt hyena? They might kill them, but they're not hunting them for food. That's for sure. Hyenas will eat a leopard that they kill. They're not necessarily hunting the leopard for food either. But They will, oh, it was a steenbok maybe. Or maybe that steenbok was just in the line of fire. There she goes, there she is there. I'm gonna squeeze through these branches. Stay with me now. Sorry, Gendre, sorry for the branches. I can just see her head poking up on the termite mound that is just over to the right of me. The sun's a little bit in the way. Sorry for the back of my head. We can do. Sorry, she surprised me. She came off the termite mound and she's now looking in the general direction. Whatever it was that she's keen on. I think that steenbok we saw jumping away was just hiding and then happened to pop out, because whatever she's seen, she's still keen to look for. You can tell by her movements there. Also the fact that I was busy coming around and she moved off the termite mound like that. Let's keep going. Around. I actually have a feeling it might be impala, to be honest with you. She's just in the bushes just up here. Taxon's just on my other side. Also having looked to see what could possibly be around for her. But her perch was so nice and her eyesight is so good. There she is. Her perch was nice, her eyesight is good. So she's definitely seen something that she wants. I just couldn't tell you what that is. There's also a few scrub hares that have been around. There she's coming. So you see how she's moving around these bushes and then looking a little bit this way. On each, you're wondering what sounds leopards make. They make a sort of sawing noise, like a huh, 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 when they're alarm calling. They also make growls and snarls and spitting noises. They do not purr. Cheetahs purr. I'm just trying to get a look at where she's looking. There's something that's... Taxon's just on my western side where the sun is. There's something that's in the bush where Tax is that she's keen on. I can't see from here. I can hear the birds' alarm calling for her a little bit. I'm just going to reposition a bit. She's not in full stalk mode anymore, but she is still interested. So let's just move this way, see what we can do. Or it's behind Taxon, possibly. I think it's actually behind Taxon now that I've come around and I can see where his vehicle is. I think it's behind him, more towards these open areas that are just over here. Maybe warthogs, maybe impala. Ooh, Nate, you're asking if I've ever measured how far a leopard can pounce. I don't know personally off the top of my head. I have a friend that watched a leopard dive bomb out of a tree, probably about 6 meters up, and land on some impala. There she is here. I still can't see what she sees. Now the wind's changed a little bit, but she's now... I wonder if she's maybe hunting these francolins that are around. That's the only thing I can see is these francolins. They like francolins, they like birds and guinea fowl. She's gone behind this tree a little bit. You can see her moving through there. Slowly but surely. They also hunt baby mice. I've seen them eating scorpions as well. Here she comes. See how her ears are flat like that? And that's concentration. A full stalk, though, is when she sort of gets a little bit lower. But that's concentration of interest. Those ears like that. And that intent look. She really is a very, very, very pretty female. I think she's slowly turning into my favorite female. Oh, she sees impala. That's what, there's two impala that are fighting. I just heard their horns clacking now, and I can see their hooves. They have no idea that she's here because they're busy fighting now. They're running around this way. They're coming around on sort of 10, 11 o'clock. That's very cool. It's a male impala. That's what she's seen. Okay, everybody, where I am right now, I'm not going to be able to move from where those impala are, or we're going to have to just wait. Okay, she's going to come out there just on my right hand side, and she can see these impala. I can't see them anymore. She's sitting right in front of our car. The wind is swirling now. So it's possible that they might pick up her scent at some point. But, I mean, look, when male impala are sort of facing off and hitting their horns, they get very absorbed in that. Now there's alarm calls of the Franklins. See, her stance changes now. She's going to see about these Franklins. So they're alarm calling. She's now interested. Now she's annoyed. Now she's checking to see if she can still see her impala. Now she's debating whether or not it's worth her hunting now. We'll have to wait and see. I think while we anticipate that something amazing might happen right now, let's head on over to James, who's driving around, and we'll keep an eye on Xidulu for you.
Yes, I'm afraid I have failed dismally to find any form of animal life. We have found the setting sun view from the sky camera, which is marvellous indeed. Look at that, isn't that pretty? I think that's rather gorgeous. I haven't even found tracks of this male leopard, so I think he's probably still in the same block that he was before, just sort of relaxing after his meal. Tesla, you like zebras. You're just 7 years old, and you say, are there any zebras on Djuma right now? Tesla, I haven't seen any today, but I have seen some. I think 2 days ago I saw some. So yes, I think there are some. But you know, as you can see here, the bush is very thick, so it's not very difficult for them to hide. And if they're not close to the water, or close to the river, sorry, close to the road, is what I'm trying to say. If they're not close to the road, Tesla, then, well, we're not going to see them. But yes, they are around. Maybe we'll be very lucky and find some before the end of our drive today. Fergus, you all right? Fergus is tossing himself about on the back of this vehicle, trying to find us the sunset. Ah, Saber, you say, could Fergus's drone pilot name be UFO? Unidentified Fergus object. Is that correct? It could be. It could be. I don't think I'm going to go with it, but we might go with that one. I will tell you as well that Sensor was trying to fly the training drone before we went on drive today. He's lost it. He flew it somewhere into the bush, unable to tell whether it was going backwards or forwards, and is currently underneath a whole lot of bushes looking for the training drone. So unfortunately he is not going to get his license for at least the next 6 years. If at all. It was very funny watching him, because he pulled this thing off the ground and there it hovered, and he said, look, you see, I can fly it. So I said, okay, we'll make it go up and down and turn around. And he did. It started moving sideways, and then it just kept going sideways, and he couldn't figure out how to make it work. It's a tremendously complicated process to make the thing fly. Anyway, I suppose I should try and find you some kind of animal now. I'll do my best. Should be... Ooh, Fergus, do you think we could cast our eye on that fork-tailed drongo? Would that be at all possible? It's just over there. It's there. Well done, Fergus. There we go. Ah, gorgeous. There we are. Fergus is having to multitask. And there we have a beautiful and now disappeared fork-tailed drongo. Alright, we'll zoom out and come back to me. Sorry, it is a little awkward trying to fly the drone and operate the camera at the same time. Continue. Do we have a picture? We do. We still have a picture from the sky cam, so we will continue to look for hukamuri while we send you back to the hunting termite mound female.
Oh, James, I love you. Yes, the hunting termite mound female, Xidulu, is in fact a termite mound. That's not the most elegant name to give this beautiful female. And those Franklins, really, those crested Franklins really just gave up the ghost for her, so she's decided to take a little nap. And one of the reasons why she's going to do that is because it's going to be dark soon, and then she can still see in the dark, but those impala that she was looking for cannot see. And it will be easier for her to hunt. She's obviously very comfortable with us, comfortable with the vehicles. I mean, she's a meter, not even from the vehicle, just lying down there. The Franklins have moved off and gone away. That one impala that I saw hitting horns with the other one and then run off seems to have moved out of her field of vision and sense of smell. But where there's two, there's usually more when it comes to impala. And it doesn't behoove her necessarily to keep at the level that she was with the concentration and the stalking and the hunting. She's going to use up a lot of energy, so rather conserve it. Ratiel, good comment there. You're saying that to you, Xidulu looks bigger than Tundi and Shadow. Look, Ratiel, I personally look, when I look at Tundi and then look at Shadow, I personally think that Tundi's a bit bigger than Shadow. And then when I see the Xidulu female, I'd put her in line with Tundi, but she's also younger than Tundi, so it's possible that she will get a little bit bigger. I don't think you're wrong at all. I can definitely see where you're going with that. Oh, James has baby elephants. Let's go over to him. They're great.
I have a baby elephant. Oh. And the baby elephant is eating elephant dung. Now, you often hear about this sort of thing, but you seldom see it. What they do is line their guts with the bacteria that will help them to be able to digest the food that they need to as older elephants. Whoops, the daisies. Sorry about this camera work, everybody. Fergus is on drone, you see. I'm on now the main camera. Beautiful. Now, just hiding behind Mum slightly, I think the point being that she's probably just noticed that we're sitting here, and so Mum's just trying to get into a place where she's nice and safe. That is a tiny elephant, everybody, so it's not surprising that she was eating the dung. Now that is really small. That is that might not be even a month old, and the drone picture of the little one walking in front of its mum is also quite spectacular. It is amazing. Even an elephant looks tiny when in this massive landscape. Isn't that amazing? Oh, that's so sweet. And the little thing really doesn't know what to do right now. It seems to be slightly irritated. See how it's flapping its ears out, or it was flapping its ears out there. And definitely still suckling. Probably got another 18 months or so of suckling at least. But will line its stomach with that valuable bacteria even now. Now a little elephant like that, of course, is going to have to start having a little bit of a snooze, because they do need to sleep a lot more than the adults, and you can see very wobbly on its feet still. So almost certainly Mum will have to stop moving sometime during the night and have a little bit of a snooze. Maybe up against that termite mound. Still full of that sort of pre-bed joyfulness that my nephews exhibit, much to the frustration of their parents, on a daily basis. God, look how huge this place is. Hey? That is just glorious. The sun about to sink finally today. Alright everyone, that's going to be it from us today. I do apologise for my sort of tardy appearance on the drive today. Nothing we could do, I'm afraid. Couple of technical glitches, but we should be back on tomorrow nice and early at 05:30. Until then, thank you very much for joining us on the drive. We will see you tomorrow.